Welcome, everybody. This is the Tonya Hofmann's fabulous TV show, and this is my fabulous guest speaker today, Miss Raven Glover. Yay!
Money.
I love your personality.
Back at you.
You have been doing interviews for so long, right? How long have you been doing them?
I started interviewing in 2006. Never done interviews before, never done radio before. Ironically, I wanted to be a talk show, radio host at the age of 13. But when I got older, because of the FCC test, it kind of scared me. I'm not a test person. And so, that dream circle kind of closed. And then mother got sick in 2006, February 6, 2006. And let me just show you a picture of my mom, because she is the reason why on my story. There she is.
Aww.
And here's what happened is, at 2006, she went into the hospital in February, and she had a serious operation. And at that time, it was pretty scary. She was in there for 3 weeks in the ICU unit. And what happened is, I was in the chapel, and I was thinking, I was like, wow, is mom going to make it? Is she going to be okay? What's going to happen? And, it got very scary. And next thing you know, the voice inside me spoke to me and basically said, your mom's going to be okay, but she's going to be different. And you are going to have to step up, show up, and grow up. And in that, I heard that loud and clear. And the growing up was the one that heard it, because it was like, you got to look at why at the age of 55 years old, are you making $10 an hour working 20 hours a week? And that was like, ouch, your mom needs you now. Yeah. You can't even take care of your doggone self. And so it was like, okay, step up, and you're going to have to do something really big, and you're going to have to show up big time. You can't creep out there. You got to blast it. And so, I came from 30 years, back then, 25 years of selling over the phone. So I had the gift of gab, and I had a gift, a real strong gift of listening, and a real strong gift of asking. So, long story short, about 2 months later, I launched my first show, Women Power, from the kitchen table. I taught myself everything on how to interview, what was a podcast, all from the hospital, because I lived there for 3.5 weeks with my mom. And the nurses were so excited because I was excited. They let me use their computers late at night when all the big people were gone. And that's when I Googled. Google was my friend. And when mother slept, I learned. Nice. And April 23rd of 2006, I launched my first show, Women Power, which gone on to win multiple podcasting awards with a handful of listeners. And this is what I want you guys to get. And I've interviewed Montel Williams, Sherry Shepard, Fran Drescher. I'm asked to go to the red carpet and do interviews now. We've interviewed Lou Gossett Jr. We just interviewed one of Oprah's longtime supervising producers just the other day, Russell Simmons, and not to mention all the gurus and, Brendan Burchard. I mean, Oprah is partnering up with him now. And I was telling my husband last night, I said, I'm so glad I got that interview with Brendan Burchard back in 2009. It's going to be hard as hell to get it now, So Alveda King, Diana Nightingale, I'm one of the very few people that have interviewed J.B. Hill, Napoleon Hill's grandson. So this has changed, interview has changed my life.
Well, and that's really what it did for me too. We got an echo going. So, one of the things that I started looking at is, being an introvert in 2005. This was me, 2005. If y'all have never seen this picture, this is the reality of who I was. And one of the things that scared me the most was my voice. And I thought, I can't be a speaker. I can't get out of my way because my voice is so horrible. And I went to the local radio show, an AM radio show, and I said, I have to get over this fear of my voice. And I launched a radio show. And I remember the first one that I did, I showed up, the producers were all ready and everything. And I was like, my husband and I were going to do it, together. And the huge microphones, right? You could see into the other ones, all these professional, DJs and everything. And then the moment came, they turned on the light. I was like, hello, I am Tonya Hofmann, and this is my radio show. It was awful.
Well, we learned along the way. I mean, I definitely was not Raven, the talk show maven at that time. I was just learning and stumbling.
Yeah.
And, I love, showing, just like you, I love showing people how to use the power of their voice and their heartfelt message to create a radio and now TV show. We've expanded. I mean, when I think about going from the hospital, working 55 years old, making, $10 an hour, 20 hours a week, and that happening to mom. And now, having award-winning shows, being on CNS and CBS radio networks, as well as others. And now we've launched our magazine, Amazing Women Magazine. And I have the first ever all talk show host production troupe, speaking production troupe called Amazing Agents of Change. And we present the Emily Awards every year after my mom, because she's gone now. She died, ironically, Tonya, she died 6 years to the actual date. February 6, 2012, she passed away. But not without me hearing me interview Les Brown and all the greats, and seeing her daughter finally grow up. And I think when she died, I was like 60, 61, somewhere in there. So it took a while. She's in my book. And, we present this award every June, and it feels so good for that to happen. So, I'm passionate about interviewing. I'm excited that you brought me here to talk about it, because what a lot of people don't know, and it took me years to find out, that there's a whole lot of money in interviewing, whole lot of money. And I love it.
So first of all, before we get into all of this fabulous information, how are you posting your picture on Blab right now, where you show you and your mom? Because I have been wanting to do that, but I can't figure out how to do it.
Which picture? Oh, okay. The pictures that I'm showing you now, that's through Minicam. Minicam.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is an app or something that you download on your computer?
It's an app that you download, yep. Yeah, my husband, he does all that. He's a Grammy Award-winning mixing engineer, so he puts all the dazzle stuff together. I just do the thing and talk.
So, and that's what it does too, is the little information at the bottom, and it puts that on there too. Nice. So Minicam. All right, I'm going to look that up, because I've been trying to figure out how to do that. I was like, I don't know how she's doing that. I'm asking her right now.
Thank you. Hey, that's what I do. This is what I teach. This is what I do. So ask away.
Nice. So tell us, because I know I've been on your show, and you have a brilliant show, and you make your guests. And I think this is one of the things that if you're interviewing people, you've got to not only control the conversation, right? Giving them lots of kudos, because people love it when you talk nice about them, right? But it's also about a balance, because what I see a lot of people do wrong in interviewing is it's always about the whole guest, and it's not a balanced show then. It's got to be a little bit about what you know too. It's got to be a little give and take. What do you think on that?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I tell this to my clients all the time, Tonya. You have got to, first of all, control your platform. Remember, it is your platform. Don't let the guests take over, because they will, and sometimes the bigger the guest, the harder it is to control. However, at the same time, if it's a huge guest, just ask the question and zip it. Ask the question and zip it, because they are definitely, your listeners are not coming for you. They're coming to hear the guest. So, there's sometimes you need to step it up as a host, and there's sometimes you need to slow it down, slow your roll, so to speak, and it is a balancing act. You got to know when to do it and why you need to do it. But even though you have the big guests, I remember this interview that I did, one of the first real big ones with Montel Williams. And at that time, Montel was still on mainstream TV. And, I was like, through the whole interview, I was like, I can't believe I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I'm interviewing the Montel Williams, and it was a very heartfelt interview. If anybody wants to go hear it, he almost cried, and he talked about a near-death experience. You can go to womenpower-radio.com, and you'll see Fran Drescher and just Elisa Nichols, a lot of other people. But listen to Montel Williams, and it was you can tell, you'll be like, no, this ain't Raven at all. Because, same thing happened to me when I interviewed Les Brown, So, but those were in my early on years, that was like 2007, 2008, So I've elevated, as all of you will, along the way. And I learned, that I really missed a good time to shine, but because I was letting them kind of pretty much take it over, and it's okay to do that. But you also got to remember, hey, this is your platform and I'm on here with so-and-so, and yet don't get it twisted, I'm a star too, and so it is a balance. Absolutely.
Yes, because I know I've done that in my shows where, why was I even there? You could have just thrown a little robot asking the person a question, and I look back and I'm like, wow, no wonder I had no results from those shows,
Yeah. Well, you got results. I mean, don't look at it like that, because I can still use that. I mean, it's not my best one, but still, I got Montel Williams, I got Russell Simmons, I got Les Brown, and a lot of these people, as they elevate, they become harder and harder to get, especially with Periscope and Blab and all the stuff going on now. They don't even need us as much, because they can go out there and do their own thing in a matter of minutes and have a whole lot more followers than we could ever get them, So, when you have that moment, I do train my hosts. I say, ask the question, zip it, ask the question, zip it, until you can really get good at the gift of gabbing and when to really put it out there and when to really draw it back. Sometimes the best thing to do is to ask the question and zip it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I've been on shows where I'm like, as the guest, I'm like, why am I even here? Because it's the other direction where the person has so much to say. And you're like, am I even on your show? I don't know.
They're talking all the time, Thank you, Tora. They're talking all the time. You're like, okay, should I just open up a book here and just flip through it, put my feet up?
Exactly.
Look, I'll just lean back and drink my coffee. Let me know when it's my time to shine.
I know there's this balancing that people have a hard time with, and everyone that's listening, if you don't have your own show, it is okay. Get in and make the mistakes, because that's how you learn. And there's sometimes we all have those moments that we're a little too blabby, and sometimes we aren't blabby enough. You've got to know when to push it out, and the only way you get really good at that is to do and to create.
Just do it, and be okay with if it doesn't work out. I mean, think of, and always go back to my story. I mean, here I am, at 55 years old at that time, I didn't know nothing about computers or anything, barely even getting there. And here, I was forced to calm down, sit down, and listen to the voice inside me guide me. Everybody says, well, what made the difference? Because mother was there with tubes around her in the ICU unit for 3 weeks, I was forced to sit my little butt down and stay still. And in that chapel, the voice spoke very loud. Use your gift to gab. You've been selling for years. You know how to listen. You know how to talk. You know how to carry a conversation, and you know how to ask. Those are the gifts. That's why. And so now I understand I wasn't supposed to be a radio DJ, even though I like the boogie. I wasn't supposed to be a radio DJ. I was supposed to go out and get powerful people, get the Little Nichols, the Les Brown, the Lisa Sasevich, the Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, all of those people, I have interviewed these people. I read their books. And, when I think about where I was then and, where I've elevated now, even though I'm still growing and still reaching, I want to just be here. And my story, when I'm asked to speak and stuff, is just to encourage you guys that if I could do it at 55 years old with no kind of training, none, just the hunger to go beyond myself. See, my why before was never big enough. But when mother was laying up there, she walked in there looking like Lena Horne. I wish I could show you guys. She walked in there looking like Lena Horne. And now she is, she was in a wheelchair when she left. Her life was completely changed. She lived 6 more years, and we're thankful for that. And I'm so thankful that, everybody knows about her now. Her
Yes.
name, Emily, lives on the award and stuff. So,
Right.
this whole thing is about interviewing. Guys, do not take interviewing lightly. It will change your life. And if you ever doubt it, think about Raven at
Yes.
55 making $10 an hour.
I know, I think let's see, I was 38, 39. So I was 39 when I started my first show.
Mm-hmm.
And I had more fears than you could, throw at me. But because I pushed myself, guess what happens? It gets better and it
It
gets
gets better
better and you
and
get
better
better.
and better and better and better and better
and
and better. And that's what
and
you
you
tell yourself, just like anything else. All of you that are coaches, authors, and speakers, just think about your first one. Think about your first teleseminar. Think about your first webinar. Think about maybe your first business and you're in your third marriage. Maybe you're like me. Think about your first marriage and now you're in your fourth. Yes, just call me Alexis Kobe, but this time finally I got it right.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, and I've met people that are, they're in their 70s and 80s who want to start speaking. And I'm like, you can't, there's people out there that are waiting to hear you. I've met an 18-year-old the other day and they're like, well, am I too young? I'm like, you're never too young to start, and you're never too old to start. You just do it. And,
Just do it.
And you just learn and you get on other people's shows and that also teaches you. So you get on people, you're like, wow, I did not enjoy that interview. Well, why didn't you? Right? You have to kind of absorb what works and what doesn't work. And then you get on people's shows like, yours that you're like, oh, that felt great.
It
Why
felt
did
good.
it?
And that's how they find out about you. That's exactly how they find out about you, because you are on other people's shows. And that's one thing you definitely need to do. So guys,
Yeah.
if you're just getting started, don't worry about it. Get started. I remember when I first got on here, and first I tested Periscope and then I did Blab, because I own my own radio station, Amazing Women of Power. Shout out to my host listening in, awaptalk247.com. And it's an all positive programming network. And so think about that too. Think about, well, here this lady was 55 years old. Now she owns a whole network, reaching 3.5 million listeners in 197 countries, just our radio station, magazine and stuff. And she did this on her own. You can do it too. And when I first came to Blab, it was scary because I was the lady behind the mic. I didn't have to get dressed up. I remember when I interviewed Russell Simmons, it was like 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. I had, my gown on, my hair sticking up, no hat, no makeup or nothing. So now I got to do all that. And I remember I had like just about, it was like my third Blab. And I was just being consistent and getting on here. It's my third Blab. And I had maybe like 10, 12 listeners. And this guy, Omar, he had been watching me. And I think, Tora, you may have been there and some other people. And, my listeners just started calling me the Queen of Blab, girl. And I keep my crown here, Queen of Blab, Queen of Blab, Queen of Blab, interviews and conversions. I know we have Jenny Q, who was crowned by another, I think the best of Blabs is Queen of Blab. And me and her, I interviewed her, and I was like, no, I'm keeping my crown. My listeners crowned me this. So I will always be the Queen of Blab because they crowned me this when I was early on. But the point being that I want to make is, doesn't matter if you have one person, two person, three person. If you just on, there was times I came on by myself, guys. There was only me on. You know what I did? I hit that recorder and I created a content, and it's now part of my new book that'll be coming out in a few weeks, all about where the book talks about going from being a interviewer to an interviewpreneur. So we're really excited, and we coined that term as interviewpreneur and showpreneur, because I'm on a mission to get people to change their mindset.
Yes. And with the world as it is, that a lot of people get really stuck with, well, there's so much going on. Why would someone want to listen to my show? And I'm like, why would they not? If you've got really great information and, you bring out your personality. One of my members, he is a geek, and I mean, he owns it, right? Mm-hmm. He still lives with his mommy, and he's got this no facial expressions, but he resonates with a certain group of people. So, you don't have to have my personality. You don't have to have Raven's personality. You have your own, and you own that personality.
Your own personality. Be you, because one thing about, doing Periscope and Blab and Meavy and all the other ones, Meerkat, is, they're seeing you and they're not just hearing you. So they can see and they can feel the authenticity. I always felt like people could feel the authenticity anyway, no matter what, behind the mic. People can feel when you're honest, and they'll be led. Here's the thing, guys. Everybody's not going to like you, and it's okay. Even the people going back to interview, I remember doing an interview with someone, 2 people. I've never played it, and they were A-list stars. But if I ever need to pull that trump card and say I interviewed that person, I will. And one of them, I just stopped the interview completely, and I said, you know what? We need to do this another time, because I don't know what's going on, but something's not jiving between us, and I don't want to waste your time. I never contacted them. I didn't expect them to contact me, because I contacted them in the first place. But, so I stopped that one. And the other one, the interview was so bad, it was just so bad. The person was selling from the beginning to the end. And it was a pretty big person. And I'm like, I can't do this to my listeners.
Yeah.
I can't do it to my listeners, never used it. Never used it. So, you got to control your platform, and you can't be afraid to speak up and ask for what you want. Yeah.
And when y'all are interviewing, say Blab, you have 4 people, you can have 4 people maximum, or you can lock the room like I've got it locked, where you just have 2 people or however many you want.
Yeah.
And when you've got multiple people, you really do need to make sure, because there's usually one person that is overshining, and there's usually one person that's not speaking up. So it's really your job as the interviewer to make sure that you're the host and you're giving everyone time, right?
Well,
kind of controlling that.
When you do kind of like a panel interview, you can either do a panel interview where these are 3 other people that you've already connected with, and say, hey, we're going to do a discussion on this and I want you here. Or it's going to be someone, hold on one second, my calendar popped up, reminding me. Or it's going to be someone that, people, as you open up the seats, you got to control it. Early on, what I learned to do was to tell people at the end of the interview, okay, so we're going to open it up for Q&A, because I know you guys want to speak to, let's say, whoever I'm interviewing, but here's what we're going to do. I want you to come in and basically say, hey, so-and-so, I love you. I love what you're doing. My question is, get right to the point. And, everybody's going to have 2 minutes, get in, jump in, say hi to the question. He'll answer the question, get out, no double questions, because we got other people. Then if we run out of people, you can come back in. So you just set them up for, and let people know, what you expect.
Exactly. And then the more it's like people love rules, because then they know how to play, so just let people know right up front, and it's really great, and you got to be ready, as a host, especially on a platform like this. You've got to be kind of on your toes and ready for things that don't resonate with you. For example, I had 3 people on besides myself, and one lady's from the UK, and she was saying something about, oh, well, the US, you do a lot more frying, we do a lot more poaching, and then it's got this guy starting to go, blah, 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 about you're a US hater, and you're an American hater, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with what she's saying, and you just block them, right?
Block them or ignore them. The other day I had a gentleman that had worked with Oprah for years, and someone put something on there about in the queue on the site about Oprah, and I know I seen the word Muslim and something else, and I looked over and I was like, I'm not even going to acknowledge that question because it has nothing. And then what I said, so he wouldn't feel like I would ignoring him, I said, look, guys, we love to answer your questions, but let's stick to the topic of this. And that's it. Speaking of questions, if you don't mind, I see one on Patricia. Do you mind if I answer that one?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. I posted it on the site because I didn't want to forget. She put it on early on. Do you advise people in advance not to make their contribution a pure sales pitch? You know what? I never really have done that. I generally will say, this is what our show is about, where it's about careers from the kitchen table. And we want, people to come on and share a little bit of their story and some tips and strategies on what they do and why. And, you at the end, you can clearly state who your ideal client is and what products or services you provide, Yeah. And most people, they know me by now. They know my show. I always will send maybe a show for them to listen to. Say, hey, if you want, for those that don't know me, you want to get a feel of my show and my personality, you can click here and listen to one, and of course I send them one of my best ones, one of the big ones.
Well, and it's also about, what is, what are you focused on for the show? So you have to decide, if you're hosting, what are you going to allow people to do? Are you going to ask them about their website? Maybe you're going to drive people and help them get people to their website. On here, I always ask people to, what would you like to gift today? Which is usually their opt-in or their, lead generation offer. But every once in a while, I know somebody is trying to push say a conference or something. I want people to be able to know about it,
Yeah.
So you just got to know.
Yeah, you just got to know. And so here's the thing, guys, just keep calm. Like, I think you brought up a good point, Tonya. You never know what's going to happen. I did a blab right before the holiday, and remember Johnny Cash? We had his son, John Carter Cash, on. We had some other big people that was scheduled. I mean, the Barge Singers. We had, oh my God, we had Jackie Wilson's son, the late great Jackie Wilson's son. We had just a lot of people that were coming on. And it was like 10 people. And the second person, who was John Carter Cash, I could start feeling my laptop getting hot. I could feel it getting hot. I could start seeing it jump, and all signs were saying, okay, this is not going to go good, And so I was doing the interview, and I sent out a text to all the others. Hey, got technical problems. We're going to have to push this back. I'll give you a call and we have to reschedule, because I could feel it right away, that it was happening, So things happen, and all you can do is go with the flow. You can't stress out about it. And remember, it's just a show. It's not the end of the world. If anything happens, it's just a show. And 9 times out of 10, if you are a great host and you've done, you had a good connection with them, they won't mind, rescheduling. A lot of times it's not as easy, especially the bigger names,
Exactly. But, you have to look at what are your strategy for your show, and then you got to be really committed to it. For me, I love connecting with people. So as people come onto my show, I just make sure that I'm already following them. So I click on everybody's name. I'm like, oh, here's a new person. I click on them. Oh, I'm not following them yet. There, it's done. It just makes it very easy.
It does. It does make it, and it doesn't matter. Don't look at the numbers, guys. I'm the same way. I always tell people, even on Periscope, wherever I'm at, if I get into a room, I'm the same way. And, now Blab has a little button pop up that say, you're not following so-and-so. Do you want to follow them? And I always will say, yeah. I don't care if you have 2 people. That doesn't matter to me. I remember interviewing, I see who it was. I'm trying to think of. It was early on.
I just had a really big name on my show she doesn't even have a Twitter account. And I'm like, how could you not have a Twitter account? She was having a hard time getting on Blab because she didn't have Twitter. I'm like,
yeah. I ran through that problem with Alveda King, and we never did get her interview going on Blab. I've interviewed her several times on my station because of that. But here's what, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is very important, guys. Remember, if you want to be a award-winning interviewer, or just an interviewer that is all that bag of chips and some M&Ms on the side, you just want to be the hostess with the mostest. Remember this. I love Blab. I love Periscope, but I love interviewing more. It's changed my life, and it's about me getting that interview. I'm not going to be trying to pull people. I will give them an attempt. We will try, but get that interview.
Yes.
If it's on audio, get that interview. You can always put slides with it. You can say, I'm going to be interviewing Marvin Gaye's sister, who wrote a book a couple weeks from now. And I will be interviewing her. And I talked to her publicist last night, and she says, well, we tried Skype and we tried this. And I said, well, I really we're going to have her on Amazing Women of Power. And I usually do Amazing Women of Power, Periscope, Blab, iTunes, all of it live at the same time. And so what I said, well, let's just get her on the phone. She will call on my phone. I'll put her on the speakerphone. We'll have another mic going that way. And I said, send me some pictures. And just like you see me showing the different pictures a minute ago, I'll be showing the pictures on there. And they can still ask the question to her. I'm not going to lose an interview,
Right.
I want to hear the story behind the story of Marvin Gaye, all that to myself. I'm not going to lose that interview because of technology,
Exactly. Well, and you've got to be flexible.
People, they don't even have the time to go through the test and getting on Blab. They don't have the time. It's not their thing. My thing to you is, if you want the interview, get the interview. You can always play it later, but I would just get on Blab, get some pictures, show the pictures, get them on the phone.
Exactly. And, look at, especially when you're using Blab, the first couple times it's going to be like, all right, what am I doing? How am I do this? And you get past it. There's always that first moment of whatever you do that you've got to move on from. Right. And there's going to be mistakes that you're going to make. And guess what? People are forgiving, and you should forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that happened on mine, there was a show that the lady that I was supposed to interview didn't show up. She had an emergency vet thing that happened with her puppy. And so I was there, and I saw one of my members that was for the Public Speakers Association. They were on there, and I'm like, hey, come on. So Fox joined me, and we were just talking and having a great time. And then a guy popped in. He's like, hey, I have a question. Can I join you? And I'm like, sure, why not? And I clicked it. He had no clothes on.
Oh, that was a troll. Yeah, I've had that happen before. I don't know. I see Tori in here. She may have been on that show. It was one time, early on, and I'm just being all nice. And, yeah, come on in. And all you see is the guy with it, just this chest.
Yeah, that was right. It's like
they're in the bed, and I'm just my God,
hey,
for this.
I'm from South Africa.
I'm like, troll one of them youngins, I'm for your mom. You didn't see that story? Yeah, that was during my rock interview talk show, for sure. I know all of you guys out there. I'm just curious, Tonya, how many people just put let's say I for interview. If you do interviews on your show, or maybe on a teleseminar or a telesummit or webinar, push I, put the letter I in the text box. I'm just kind of curious how many people here do interviews, and then we'll know how deep we can go on it. Because no, but very interested. Okay, Patricia. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Anybody here, Tor? Do you do interviews yet? Let's see who else we have here.
Yeah, Maybe. Patricia, and all of y'all need to be doing these things. That's why I'm doing the training on Monday on how to create, a Blab show. Because I found that people didn't know how to do it. I'm like, let's get this figured out. So if y'all want more information, let me put in my website. It's on my website. That y'all can jump into, but have a strategy going into it, and then just get it going so that you have this amazingness where you can have Raven on your show, you can have me, you could have all these fabulous people that you see just listening in, and then join up on other people's shows. It's incredible when you start going on to other people's blabs, and you just never know when they're looking for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, guys. And you definitely, she's going to get you comfortable with coming on Blab and stuff. And then, what I generally do is I teach people how to go out and get experts to be on your show, and how you can get interviewed on other people's show. Like I got Jack Canfield that's going to interview me. Lisa Sasevich is going to be interviewing me.
Yeah.
And Alex Mendoza is going to interview me. And these are not people that are easy to say yes. They usually go for the big boys and stuff, to get them to interview you on your show. So we teach you what we call the irresistible ask, how you can get them more likely to say yes to you than no. Now, remember, when I started out, I didn't know anyone. These people that I interview, these celebrities, I'm not hanging around celebrities. That's not my world. Trust me, even though my husband worked with Michael Jackson and Prince and all that stuff, we just got married a year ago. I've been interviewing since 2006. And even people are picky about connecting you with the stars and stuff because everybody wants to meet them and a lot of people abuse them. But I can teach you how to get out there and feel confident about asking. And it's important for you to interview up. Had I not interviewed some of the greats, I would just be, I would have kind of been like a fish in the pond of millions. Remember I said that the voice inside me told me that I needed to step up and show up big time. That's really important. If you're going to do this, do the best. I remember when I interviewed Russell Simmons and he said, I love what he said. He said, if you're going to clean the bathrooms or, sweep the grounds or, whatever you do, be the very best at what you do. Take pride in it and be the best. And don't think that you can't be the best. Okay. You got to really just remember, step up and show up big time. I'm going to do this thing and I am going to blow them away. And you got to come out with your best. A lot of people will come out slow. I say come out running. That's the difference of, I think, what I did. Even though I didn't know anything about it and I taught myself in the hospital, I came out strong. I made a list and a vision board and I put Lisa Nichols on there. I put all the people that I interviewed. I remember doing a research. I wanted to interview, oh God, I can't remember. Jane Kennedy was the first celebrity. And Jane Kennedy back in the day was like a Halle Berry. She's a beautiful woman. And she was a sportscaster. And I think she won a pageant and stuff. And when I was young, you couldn't tell me I didn't look like Jane Kennedy. And no, I did not. But I thought I did, And so, she was on my vision board. And I sent an email to someone that claimed to be a relative of her. And I put her on my vision board. I cut out the picture. This is when The Secret came on. And I put it all around me, her and the other people I wanted to interview. And I attracted them and they began to say yes. I got really good at asking. And that's what I love to show people how to do that. Let me see. Oh, you remember her? Yeah. She's
and one of the things that I started when I just started in 2006 with my first AM radio show is, at first I wasn't getting many listeners. And it wasn't until I started to look at, well, who would they want to hear from? And so I loved it when I started looking at, asking people, because people need to market themselves. So it's a perfect opportunity to reach out to people that you love. If you see someone on Blab or Periscope or wherever, you hear their radio show, ask them to come on your show, because 9 out of 10 times they are looking on how to market themselves, especially to other people's people. So, I love it.
And here's the thing, guys, you never know where you're going to be, where you're going to meet someone, and you want to make sure that you're ready for that interview. And I agree with Tonya, you just have to ask. Now, here's the question a lot of people will ask me is, what happens after the interview? So I got all this hard drive of what to do after the interview. And, and this is where, I always tell people, there's a lot that you can do with the interview. And not every interview are you going to want to do this, but there's lots of ways to monetize from it. And, there's ways that you can make money from your interviews. One of the things I've really mastered is teaching people how to make 6 figures plus just from interviewing from your kitchen table without running around and stuff like that. And I love that, but you got to make your first dollar before you can make your 6 figures. And so I like to show people how to go out there and make your first dollar interview. Most of my clients that I interview, they pay me to come on my show. A lot of people don't know that you can do that, and you can. And I encourage you to get about 10 under your belt for free, and then you should start charging it, unless you want to have a hobby. But I'm really good at showing people into turning their radio show, their Blab, their Periscope, and their interviews into a cash machine. Can we say, ha, ha, ha? Where's my glass? Ka-ching, 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 ching. So if you guys want to do that, and, my information, I think, is rolling across the screen, or you can just email me for a one-on-one session, ravenbglover@gmail.com. And
I I just moved everything over to Blab because I couldn't believe the second interview that I gave on Blab, I got closed business from. And it's just a consistent, pushing out that information. I just been so shocked at the conversion rates here. So, when you get that kind of thing, you're like,
the conversion rate is great here. I mean, because people are in the seats, so to speak. So it's kind of, just think of yourself as having to tell a seminar. But here's also what it's important. You don't want to come up selling all the time, because then they will run like flies. So you can drip stuff, like I've dripped a couple things for you guys, and I do have a gift at the end that I'll let you know about. But just drip on them, because it's not really about that. You want people to listen to your interviews. You want people to listen to your shows,
because you can really change people's lives, right? I mean, you can give them great information that can start that movement and make people go, oh my gosh, I never thought about whatever it is.
Right. Because, you train people on being a speaker, and what it takes to be a speaker, what it takes to be booked on, for someone to book you and ask to speak. And speaking of, you guys can catch me at her event. I'm so excited.
So Raven is one of our keynotes. Yes, keynote speaker for the Public Speakers Conference. Yeah. You want more information about that, go to publicspeakersconference.com. You can find out all about Raven and what she's speaking on. All of her links are there also. I can't wait. I'm
pretty consistent. It's all about interviewing and making money with the power of your voice. So very, very excited about it. You guys go out there and do the thing so you can have the power.
Yeah, exactly. So I put the post on there. Also, we've got nominations open right now. You need to get yourself nominated, Miss Raven. You can nominate yourself, by the way. My panel does not care if you nominate yourself.
You know what? I would feel so funny about nominating myself. But if anybody here wants to go there and nominate me, please do. As a matter of fact, guess what? Someone, I don't know who, they won't tell me, but I'll be going to Atlanta, my husband and I, next week, because we got this glass engravement and it said, hey, someone said that you changed their life. And so I'm kind of like their hero or shero. And they pick about 100 of these people. And at the event, you walk the red carpet and get your award. So I don't know who it is. I won't know. They won't tell me until I get there who, said, hey, I should have an award for changing their life. But it means a lot to me, especially when I think about where I was at the age of 55. It means a lot, that somewhere along this journey, I changed someone's life.
And for me to change my life first, right? Yeah, it's the first about changing your own life. And then I'm always shocked when people are like, oh my gosh, Tonya, you are the reason I'm wherever they are now. And I'm like, that is so cool.
Well, it's wonderful to hear that. I was at an event years ago with Jim Rome. Remember Jim Rome?
Sure.
And I remember, this is way before my radio days. I was in network marketing. And I remember him talking about that a guy that he had autographed a book for years ago. And the guy came in from the country, and because the guy ordered the book online, and Jim Rohn, he autographed the books online when he sent them out. And so the guy flew in from out of the country because he knew that, I guess the time was just right for him to meet him, and how he was crying, talking about how he had changed his life. And this guy had went from, hardly having any money to being a millionaire. And he just wanted to shake his hand, And, for people to be in line, or for people to, like you said, we be at events and people recognize you and they say, hey, I read your book, or I remember the story of your mom. Oh, I got to tell you this. What's the guy's name? I think his name, Steve Harrison. Is he the one that does this big book thing? Well, years ago, back in 2009, someone emailed me and they wanted to talk to me about my kitchen table radio course. And I have a habit of always asking people, how did you hear about me? And she said, well, I was at Steve Harrison's event and someone stood up. He was talking about why everybody should have a podcast or a radio show. This girl stood up and she told my story. This girl told my story about my mom and me not knowing radio and teaching myself at the hospital. And this other lady that contacted me got so excited, she emailed me. But this is somebody that I'm not even at the event. I still don't know who it was. Yeah. But someone stood up and shared my story. So it's important to get your story out there. You never know who it may touch.
And my little story about how I was so afraid of my voice and what it sounded like. so many people have told me that it kind of gave them that push to do their own because they had that same issue. They're like, oh, I don't have that radio voice, and it has nothing to do with having a radio voice.
Patricia said we both have amazing stories. Thank you. And I can't wait to hear yours, Patricia. I think everybody has an amazing story. You mentioned, Tonya, that you were an introvert. I was an introvert too for years. I'm still an introvert. People don't know this until they see me out in public. I'm very by myself. I'm in the corner. It's like, as long as I'm behind my precious mic here, I'm okay. But the minute I'm out in front of a lot of people, I'm just kind of like this, because in real life, I am truly an introvert. I went through a lot of years of emotional abuse. And, when you go through that younger, you start attracting those type of people as you get older. And I remember at one time I was in a closet deciding. I was in such a bad marriage. I was deciding, I can't do this anymore. I'm looking at my ex-husband back then, gun, and trying to decide, do I want to keep on? And I'm so glad I kept living. That would have been crazy, but that's how scared of him I was in this abusive relationship. It was like, I can't take this anymore. Didn't even think about my kids or my mom or anybody. I just I got to get out of here. This man, is going to kill me. And, which made a lot of sense. He's going to kill me, so why not kill myself, right? Made a lot of sense. But then, here I am, that was when I was probably in my 40s. And then here in my 55 years old, my whole life changes, Yes. So you just never know. Hang in there, get through the bad times, never give up, never think about doing anything like that. When I think back with that now, I don't know. Other than fear, I don't know why I would even thought about something like that.
I know. And I totally get why I was an introvert, because it's the same kind of stories. I was robbed and tied up when I was 6 months pregnant. I went through cancer, and those were the nice things. So,
yeah, really.
When I started thinking about it, of course, it was safer to have me in and to kind of give away, to own that victim mentality, kept you also safe. But yet you weren't living. I wasn't happy. And I had to kind of say, I'm missing all these fabulous people. I mean, you meet people all the time that you're like, I can't believe I got to talk to this person. They're so amazing. For me to know Patricia, to me to know Teak, to me to know all these incredible people that are on here. And it just makes you feel so accomplished in life that you're like, I can find amazing people with amazing stories that can go out and really help people. It's just like, it's like energizing.
Absolutely. And I know there's people that will be listening to the replay and hear live that can resonate with that. We all have our own pain, our own story. But the good news is we can push past our pain to our power, so we can live our life on purpose with a definite purpose. And that's what Tonya's been able to do, and I've been able to do. And it doesn't matter where you are now. You guys heard my story, the good, bad, and darn right ugly, like she said, and that was the good stuff. I love that, and, going back to the subject of interviewing, you can interview your way out of your pain. Let me tell you guys, the last time I got divorced, I feel like Alexis Colby. I've been married so many times. But anyway, he kind of left me with 5 minutes. He gave me flowers on one Sunday, and the next Sunday he was packing and leaving at the same time. And it really crushed my heart because I was married to him for 13 years. He went back to a girlfriend from 13 years ago. I guess he never let her go at that time, or I don't know. But anyway, it was so painful and stuff. And I was just getting into making money with my show. I mean, real money. I was at CNN and CBS at that time. And I was like, I really need some help. I really need some, therapy. But I didn't think I can afford the therapy that I needed. And so what I did is I went out and I Googled people that helped, experts that help people through divorce. What do you call it? Consultants, not consultants.
Oh, yeah.
Counselors. Yeah. And I just told somebody, I said, hey, I have my radio show. It's Women Power. I've interviewed Fran Drescher, Sherry Shepherd, all these great people. I love to bring you on to talk to people that are going through things like I'm going through. Normally, I charge a fee for this. Are you open to bartering to where I'll do the interview? And I packaged it up. I gave her some other stuff in exchange for some counseling to get me through my pain. And so I interviewed her, and I asked her questions that I wanted to know. I interviewed about 5 people. I never released a product. I'm going to do it eventually, but I interviewed 5 or 6 different people. Number one, me and her did a trade-off, so she was able to help me. And then I just interviewed people to ask them questions. So when you're stuck in your pain, when you're not sure what you want to do, go Google experts on the topic and interview them. Write all the questions that you would want to ask. And find 5 or 6 people and ask this person this much, this person that much. And it is so rewarding. Just interview your way through the pain. And that's one of the things I teach people, interview your way through the pain. Through your pain.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And one of the things that people don't understand is a lot of the bartering aspects, the leveraging that shows really affords you. Back in 2007, I had my show, and I was able to get on stage, and this was before I became a speaker, right? I was able to sponsor an event because I got them on my radio show. And then the next year, I did the same thing. The next year, they actually had me on stage with Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson. And I was like, this was like 2008, 2009 or so. I was really nobody, but here I am on stage because I helped somebody. You're helping people, getting them on your show. It's a way to leverage opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll get booked from doing shows. When you brought up Deepak Chopra, it made me sad for a minute because Napoleon Hill, I'm trying to think of what country it was. I can't forget. In Malaysia. They have a subsidiary in Malaysia, and Deepak Chopra and some other people were going to be there. And I was supposed to be a keynote speaker as well. And Mother had just took a turn for the worse. And this was back in November in, I want to say 2011. And I had to turn it down because I didn't want to be in Malaysia and something happened,
Right.
Luckily, she lived for 4 more months after that, but I'm still glad I made the decision not to go. Although, every time I hear his name, I think about that. So thanks a lot. Hey, I still got the poster with me and him on it.
Nice. We've all had those opportunities and have, there's always, it's life, right? It's just called life. So tell me, Ray, tell everybody how to get in touch with you. What do you have for them? What would you like to do?
Absolutely. Before I tell you how to get in touch with me, I want to give you can I give them my 3 best tips for interviewing? Okay. Number 1, make a list of the people you want to interview. Number 2, find where they are. Google, find out where they are. Number 3, email them or pick up the phone and ask. Remember, if you do not ask, you will not get. But when you ask, don't say I have a blab show. Don't say I have a Periscope show. Don't say I have a podcast. You have to just act like you're on mainstream radio and TV. That's the best tip I can give you. Hold your head up high. Say it with confidence. Be proud. Don't think about, oh my God, I only get 3 people in the room or 5 people, whatever. Remember, really, the gold in these shows is really in the replay. No matter how many people show up, you can market it. And if you don't know how, you pay you pay Facebook or someone to send a lot of traffic to that audio. Okay. So don't worry. If they don't show up, the real gold is in replaying, getting those replays out. On my station, we would air them over and over and over again. Get them out. And so what I have for you guys, for anyone that wants to go from just being an introvert to being a show host or interviewer to really putting a preneur on the end of that. Being an interviewpreneur or a talk show preneur is what we coined it to be. I want to invite you to go here. I put it in here. You can get a free one-on-one session with me. It's only going to be 20 minutes and I can only do probably about 7 between now and next Monday when I leave out of town. So book it fast, and you can go ahead and email at ravenbglover@gmail.com. Tell me what's a good time for you. And even if after our conversation, because I won't know if and how I can assist you until I know where you're at. If you have not started to interview, this is the time that you want to connect with me. If you're just beginning to get to your show and you want to build extraordinary content and not build it on your own, this is the time. If you are an introvert like Tonya and I, and if well, I don't know what to do, this is the time to book with me, and I can assist you in not only getting interviews, but getting top interviews from the beginning without them even knowing you, because we will teach you our irresistible ask, and our icon interview formula is what you walk away with. This teaches you how to investigate, connect, own, and get to the nitty gritty. And you get this whether we move further or not. So I hope for you guys, I hope to hear from you. And just remember my story. Remember my mom. Remember, this is a lady that went, from being 55, making $10 an hour, 20 hours a week. But because my why was strong enough, and that being my mom, I was able to turn my life around, really going from the ICU to the red carpet, interviewing greats like Sherry Shepherd, Les Brown, Jack Canfield. I could go on and on. Oscar winners, we could go on and on. The list is so long and strong. I don't have time to go for it. And now owning my own station, Amazing Women of Power, reaching 4.5 million listeners. This is my story. What is your story? Get it out to the world. You can't do it no better way than being on Blab, Periscope, having your own radio show or podcast. Hey, we don't need people to say, we don't have to wait anymore for people to allow us to speak our voice and share our story. We own that now. Hey.
Exactly. And make sure that you're following Raven, follow me. Oh, I don't know where she went. You dialed off, Miss Raven. There you are. You got kicked off some reason. Mm-hmm. But follow us, and it's easy to click on her little name or my name, and then just follow us. And that's just on Blab. So make sure you also reach out to us in real life, in all the social media aspects, our websites and everything. Get connected with Raven if you've got your show. If you're going to have your first show, hey, you've got your first two people to interview, Raven and me.
Yeah, make some money. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Tonya. I actually have to run because I've got someone I got to interview right at 9:00. Thank you for having me on, and I can't wait to be at your event. And guys,
I know
each and every one of you that have stayed, and listened to my story and listened to us. Thank you, Patricia. Let's see who else we have. Michael, we have Bill, we have
got a lot of fabulous people.
We have Colin, and we have Tiki, and I know we have Tora, and we have Kiva Mack. I want to say thank you to all of and I'm not sure the Abdelzia. Sorry about that. And thank you, Tanya. Thank you all. And look for me. I'm always on here somewhere, so you can find me. All
right, exactly.
Love to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And everyone, make sure you're going to go to the conference website, nominate yourself, get someone to nominate that you want to nominate, something, so that you can use that nomination. It's Collaborator of the Year, local, national, international. So I put it over on the sides, publicspeakersconference.com. Raven will be there. I will obviously be at my own conference. And we book people for speaking opportunities, teach you the speaking opportunities, how to do the whole business of speaking. So it's really a lot of fun. And get connected to both of us. Love to reach out to you. If you'd like to connect with me, also shoot me an email and let's get connected. Let me give you my basic email address so that way y'all have it. It's Tonya@publicspeakersassociation.com. And get involved. We are looking for speakers for our upcoming Blabathon in March. So we're looking at March, I think it was 22nd. And then we also have our just teleconference February 24th and 25th. We're still looking for presenters. So make sure you go to Public Speakers with an S Association, all spelled out.com, and find out all the ways you can join and get involved. All right, everybody, we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got the incredible Miss Debbie Allen on the show. So you definitely want to jump in on that opportunity and get to know her. So goodbye, everybody.